After what's been a very quiet offseason so far, the Boston Bruins have finally gotten some long-awaited answers in their offseason off the ground. Patrice Bergeron is back, David Krejci is back, and Pavel Zacha is finally under contract. The Boston Bruins were busy today, and we're going to talk about it. Let's go. Hey everybody, so I got back from vacation today and found out that the Boston Bruins were very busy, making some major signings and finally starting to put their forward group together for this coming season. This was long-awaited news surrounding the Bruins, and certainly as a Bruins fan, much needed news, as really the entire balance of Boston's offseason was hanging in the balance as to what was going to happen with Patrice Bergeron and some of these other players. And at the end of the day, it took a little bit longer than most of us hoped, but Patrice Bergeron is back with the Bruins on a one-year contract. David Krejci also returns to the Bruins after playing in Europe last year. One last go-around with the team for him. And Pavel Zacha, who they acquired earlier in the offseason in a trade with the Devils, is now finally under contract as he signs a one-year deal with the team. So it was a very busy day for the Bruins, but a much-needed busy day for the Bruins to finally get these guys locked under contract and know what they're going to be working with heading into next season, because there was still a lot of uncertainty up in the air, and Boston really hadn't done anything else this offseason other than the Zacha trade. They didn't do anything. They were really banking on Bergeron coming back and the possibility of Krejci even coming back as well. And this team was going to be in a lot of trouble if those guys did not return. But at the end of the day, it all ends up well and good. The boys are back, and the Bruins really look like they're kind of gearing up for one last hurrah with this group to try and make a run next season. And then there's definitely looking like there's going to be a little bit of a retool on the horizon. I certainly don't think it's going to be a complete breakdown and start over, but there's going to be a little bit of a retool after this coming season for Boston, because it really does feel like this is probably it for Bergeron. I would definitely imagine it's one last go-around for David Krejci, and, you know, Boston's going to have to find some answers after that as to who's going to fill those spots moving forward. But for now, talking about this coming season, it really kind of is that one last push for this team with this core group, with Bergeron, with Krejci, and we'll see what they can do, but those guys are back, and it is good to see, definitely, because Boston was going to have a lot of trouble trying to field a decent forward group on the ice if Bergeron did not return. Particularly Bergeron, they certainly needed back. So if we look at the signings today, Patrice Bergeron was the first one, 36 years old, one-year contract, $5 million, but half of it's incentive-based, because it's a 35-plus contract, so a lot of it is incentive-based. His actual cap hit is only going to be $2.5 million. David Krejci, he comes back on a one-year deal. His cap hit is only going to be $1 million because he's on a 35-plus contract as well. 36 years old, played in Europe last year to get a chance to go back home and play in front of his family. Now returns to the Bruins, again, for what I certainly would expect to be a one last hurrah type of deal. Total value of the contract is $3 million, but most of it is incentive-based. And then Pavel Zacha, their RFA, who they picked up from the New Jersey Devils earlier in the offseason in the trade for Erik Haula, signs a one-year deal at $3.5 million for this coming season. So all three guys are under contract now. That does put Boston over the salary cap, so I feel like there's probably going to be more moves to come for the Bruins. They're going to have to move money out, I believe, at some point. And just thinking off the top of my head, looking at that defense core, I think Mike Riley is probably the odd man out there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a deal that moves money out from the Bruins as we get closer to the start of the season. But for right now, the important thing that's happened is that Patrice Bergeron is back. David Krejci coming back is kind of like the frosting on the cake. I was very 50-50 on whether I thought he would come back for another season or not. I really wasn't expecting Krejci. Bergeron was the one that the Bruins really needed back. I thought was going to be back. I was really hoping was going to be back, and I'm very happy that he is. Krejci, I wasn't really expecting as much, so it's kind of like an added gift when he comes back as well. And he's still a very good hockey player. You know, he had 44 points in 51 games in 2021 with the Bruins before, you know, spending last season back over in Europe. So Krejci's a big add to that top six. And then obviously it's nice to hear the news that Zacha is under contract because, you know, this guy, you know, Boston trades Erik Haula for him, who Haula in the second half of last season was pretty darn good. And that wasn't exactly my favorite trade that the Bruins have made, to say the least. And then the fact that he wasn't even under contract, you know, made that even worse. Now that they at least get Zacha under contract, we'll see where he fits in. Feel like with Krejci back, he probably plays the wing because they'll go Bergeron, Krejci, Coyle most likely down the middle. So that would put Zacha at left wing. But he's a versatile guy that can play wing or center, which is very nice to have, especially when injuries start happening. You can start shuffling lines around and whatnot. But I'm glad that they got him signed as well. I've never been a huge Pavel Zacha guy. I think he's largely underperformed in his NHL career to this point, but he did have 15 goals last year. He had 36 points in 70 games last season. He's kind of started to take us some steps in the right direction. And maybe a change of scenery will be what Zacha needed. And, you know, maybe he ends up being, you know, better in Boston than he was in New Jersey and can make me a believer in him. But it's nice also that it's a one-year deal and that, you know, we'll see how this season goes, and the Bruins can make a maybe longer term commitment after seeing him in their lineup for a full season, whether they want to do that or not. Or he could get traded again. He could get a bridge deal. You know, they have a lot of options after this season, but I'm glad that's a one-year deal where they can get a look at him, how he fits in the locker room, how he fits in the lineup before, you know, committing to anything beyond just this season. So all in all, I think this was a very good day for the Bruins and one that they desperately needed, because this team, had Bergeron and Krejci not come back, this team was looking at Charlie Coyle being their number one center next year. And I mean, I like Charlie Coyle, but that would be really bad. So, Boston needed this. They needed Bergeron in particular back. And if these guys, hopefully they can stay healthy, because they're very good players when they're healthy, but, you know, they're certainly getting up there in age as well. Krejci and Bergie are both 36 years old. So health is going to be important. We know that the Bruins already have some injury issues to start next season. Marchand's going to be out at the start of the year. McAvoy's going to be out at the start of the year, so that's not good. But they'll be coming back as we get into the season. And again, it feels like it's kind of a one last hurrah for some of these older guys with the Bruins. Again, I don't think they're going to necessarily strip it down to a full-on rebuild after, you know, Bergeron goes and Krejci goes and whatever. But I do think there will be a retooling period, especially if this is Bergeron's last season. So it seems like they've kind of got the gang back together for one last try. They're going to see what they can do. And then there's certainly going to be some changes on the horizon, it looks right now. But all in all, Boston needed this. They needed Bergeron. Krejci coming back was kind of a very nice surprise to me. And Zacha's under contract now. So the Bruins have figured out their forward group for the most part for next season. They still kind of need to figure out the cap space right now. But that will probably be something that ends up being figured out maybe a little bit further down the line than right now. So, you know, that's pretty much what I've got on that. I'm very happy to have Patrice Bergeron back. I'm very happy that they got Krejci to come back over for another season. And all in all, I think, you know, that this was certainly has me feeling a lot better about the Bruins heading into next year or this coming season than I was feeling, you know, yesterday, for sure. Because if Bergeron didn't come back, if they didn't get Krejci, you know, this roster was going to be looking a little rough, particularly at the center spot without those guys. So this was a good day for the Bruins for sure. So that's what I've got in the Bruins signings today. Bergeron's back, Krejci's back, and Pavel Zacha is now under contract as well. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. And with that, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our merchandise store, memberships, and donations are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all very soon.